Advice given is for general information purposes. All legal cases are different, and you should seek the advice of your own attorney before acting or making decisions. No attorney-client privilege applies to communications on this show, and no attorney-client relationship is created by calling or writing in. Attorney Rominger practices only in Pennsylvania and maintains his primary office in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Okay, welcome back. Carl Rominger here. All right. Dave.
Yeah.
You got Dave Nesbitt here. Dave, what's going on, brother?
Well, I'm just hanging out here listening to you, trying to see who the Philadelphia Eagles draft, thinking about wills, trying to decide what I'd ask your mother, and working on senior identity theft.
We got rid of Mom already.
Yeah, I know. I heard your mom. I heard about the guacamole, and I do like guacamole, but I was more interested in asking her if she had you, one of your other brothers, or all of you as her power of attorney. That's an issue we run into a lot, but I'll have to ask Mom another time if I'm allowed.
Yeah, well, we already had her declared incompetent, so
oh my God,
we have a guardianship
that
over
way
her.
You don't need a power of attorney.
That's right.
I'm not sure if I want her guacamole recipe now, though. She sounded pretty sharp, Carl.
Yeah, she's okay.
I don't think I'm buying that incompetency story.
I was just glad I wasn't on the I-90 earlier today when she was driving, that's all.
Well, try to take away her license. That's the hardest thing to do for a son.
Oh, I can imagine. You know, my grandfather, her father, he just one day said, I'm taking myself off the road. And he was 86 at the time, or 84 or something like that. But he decided it wasn't safe to drive any longer.
It's a very hot topic, and I've heard all kinds of things from giving Dad the Buick keys when he's now driving a Ford to disconnecting the stuff under the hood. You can tell I'm a mechanic. I start with the battery. But there's all kinds of things you can do. I guess the best thing is to call the state police and have them reported, but it's a tough issue.
Right.
So I heard the thing on identity theft, or actually on whether you should give a Social Security number, and I think that's timely. The Senate had a hearing this past week on identity theft with relation to tax issues. I can't give the details of how people scam seniors, and if I could, I'm not sure I'd want to give people ideas out there. But essentially it does begin with the kind of personal information that the lady was a little bit reluctant to give up. Mm-hmm. And so I think your advice was dead on. Maybe I could understand why somebody needs a social. I'm sure you get it for your clients, and we do too, but you need to be a little bit hesitant about giving date of birth, social, name, address, everything all at once, because there are scam artists out there. Yeah,
and there are also occasions when people simply just steal an entire mailbox.
They do.
Just to go through it and see what they can harvest.
I'm not sure if every piece of paper that goes into the county, with all due respect to the county, gets properly shredded after it's been properly filed. I don't know if papers might end up in the dumpster or blowing on the street. I don't mean that with any disrespect, but it's very hard to control every piece of paper coming into the courthouse.
Yeah, and I saw a thing not too long ago on real estate. Were you at the Inns of Court where they brought in the real estate fraud people?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, and some of those scams and how they work, it doesn't require a lot of information to get your foot in the door.
It doesn't. It's scary, and I don't want older persons to be afraid unnecessarily. But I think the fear of answering questions like, oh, hi, this is Dave. I'm calling from the fill-in-the-blank organization, senior tax awareness group, and there's been a report that some people are not getting their tax refunds, and we'd like to help you. So this is a free service co-sponsored by AARP and your local Office of Aging. Now, if you just give me this information, we'll make sure that you get your refund when it's due to you. And then with that as an intro, people might spill their guts, and the refund doesn't come to them, but to the scammer who is calling.
Right. Very interesting.
So anyway.
And just to remind everybody, Dave is the principal lawyer at Keystone Elder Law in Camp Hill.
Well, actually, we're in Mechanicsburg.
Wow. Okay.
But we're in Cumberland County. We're kind of like you, Carl. We're everywhere. But I wanted to ask you, is free will, is that a legal concept or a theological concept? I always thought it was theological, but...
Well, that was my little joke. That's we call our free will program.
Yeah.
Do what you want.
Yeah. Well, I think it is important that people have a will. I heard what you said about what happens when lawyers are not involved. I see this stuff all the time, as I'm sure you do, and it is important to get a good start on that. You've been very kind to let people know about our seminars in the past. We just had one. We'll have one in May. They're usually on Thursdays, and we have one coming up in May, and then we'll have one in June, and people can call us at Keystone, which is 697-3223, if they're interested, and we'll put them on a list. We won't give them a free will, though, at the seminar.
Right.
But we'll tell them why they need one.
Yeah, and I've talked to a few of the callers who've been to the seminar, and everybody agrees it's well worth the time, and obviously gets their minds thinking, if nothing else, about the things they need to be thinking about.
Well, that's the thing. It's very hard to think about what happens when we get old and we need help. It's especially hard for men because most of us think either we'll never get old or we'll never need help. And unfortunately, both of those are delusional thinking, but don't let any women know that we're admitting these things.
Delusional.
Yeah.
So again, what's the number, and when in May? Do you know when in May that seminar is?
Well, yeah, our number here is 697-3223, and the seminar that we have in May is on Thursday the 23rd. We have them at 10, 2, and 7. So that's about a month away, but it's something people can put on their calendar, and if they can't wait, they can call us and come in, but that's an opportunity to hear what's going on. And we'll probably be talking to you about something before then.
I assume so. Dave, thanks for calling in.
You bet, and call me anytime too, brother.
I will. Thanks. And thanks for listening, by the way. Yeah, see, actually, there's another lawyer that listens to the show. I have proof now. I have proof. I know there's a couple lawyers that listen to the show, mainly just so they can point out what I said that was wrong. It's kind of a hobby. Roy, you're on WHP 580. What's going on? Roy.
Hello. Yeah. Hey, it's Roy. Hey, we bought a hunting cabin in 1964.
Okay.
The hunting cabin is situated on leased land. Now, in 1964, when this cabin was bought, there was never a bill of sale, a deed, or nothing. How do I go about to get a bill of sale? Now, the seller, of course, is deceased.
See, I'm going... So wait a minute, you bought a cabin... But there's no paperwork that shows you bought the cabin?
That's right. It's all on a gentleman's handshake.
Uh-huh. And I assume you've been occupying and using the cabin?
Since 1964, yes.
Right. Now, how does the lease work?
I pay $500 a year lease.
And is there that in writing?
Yes.
And how long is the lease good for?
It's a yearly one, year by year.
Okay. And that person acknowledges that they're only leasing you the land, not the cabin?
Yes.
This is curious. Well, I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I'm just trying to figure out, okay, the land is the land. And usually for real estate, we have deeds. But here, you didn't buy the real estate and the fixtures. You just bought a fixture. Is this cabin something you can pick up and move, or is it attached to the ground?
No, it's attached to the ground.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I would want to do is, if you know who the seller was...
I know his name, yes, but he's deceased years already.
Right, and then the question would be, did he have any next of kin? But the short answer is, title. I'm just trying to figure out how the title is held in this thing. He didn't have a deed, I guess.
What was that again?
He did not have a deed.
No, we don't have no deed. No.
That's what I'm saying, but did he have a deed into him for the cabin at all?
The land is situated on like 40 acres. There's 10 other cabins on that land. Now, all the other cabin owners have a bill of sale.
Right.
But as far as the landowner has a deed for the 40 acres.
So I would say possession's 9/10 of the law. So that's a famous saying, but it's also true. You're not going to get a bill of sale from the seller. I don't think you're going to get a bill of sale.
Okay, I didn't know if
what I would want though is the guy who leases the place maybe to sign a something acknowledging that he doesn't own the cabin and that it's yours.
Okay,
I don't know.
Yeah.
How much is this cabin worth?
I have it insured for $20,000.
Yeah, see, it's worth fooling around with then. This is something we might want to think about outside of the radio here. We have to do a little research on how you could reconstruct that. I'm not sure you need a bill of sale for any particular purpose, except to prove that you own it, right?
Yeah, because the people that own the land, I guess in the back of my mind, I want to protect myself if my lease comes up and they say, well,
this is our cabin, goodbye.
This is my cabin, yeah. That's what I want to avoid.
Very interesting. We may have to file a court action to quiet the title, so to speak. But I'm not sure if you can have title. I'm not sure if you can properly have title in the cabin without having title in the land. I think you can, but it's just a little tricky. All right, I got to go. I got to go to break.
Okay, thanks.
I don't have a great answer for that one. 540-0580. Welcome back. Carl Rominger here, 540-0580. Dave Nesbitt just popped in over there during the break and said, who's paying the taxes on the cabin? So I hope that caller's still listening. Perhaps if you've been paying the taxes historically on it, you could use that as proof of ownership. 540-0580. Fred, you're on the air.
Hello, Carl.
Hey.
I have a custody agreement issue, supposedly. My court order says that I have partial physical custody and joint legal custody. Okay. About 3 years ago, we started a divorce proceeding for which I'm still not complete. We have gone through support and custody. I'm currently engaged. And at the beginning of the school year, my fiance and I went into an open house, signed up for helping out in the classroom, volunteer, that sort of thing. We had done the same thing last year without issue. Because my daughter is in first grade now, and it's all day as opposed to half day, custody exchange time was 3 o'clock on Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. So as such, I put down my mother as well as my fiance on the list of people that could be approved to pick them up.
Right.
The revised order that we got from the original order for custody actually said that I was to get the kids at 4 o'clock on Wednesdays instead of 3. My ex-wife flipped out that my fiance was on there, said, you know what, we're just going to go to what the court order says. Mm-hmm. As such, she sent a letter to the school, to the principal, saying that no one other than my ex-wife may pick up my daughter, and that my fiance is not allowed to have access to any school information.
Well, your fiance shouldn't have access to any school information.
That's fine.
Because she doesn't have anything to do with this custody matter. In terms of picking up, generally most judges will, if they're asked to resolve the matter, say that whoever is responsible for picking up will pick up and can use third parties, not just anybody, but third parties to effectuate the pickup.
That's okay. This just kind of premises kind of what's happened now. So the school has taken the position that my fiance may not come in to volunteer in the classroom. And they said because the custody agreement gives my ex-wife the authority, but that would probably change when I got married, for which I said, I don't understand how that changes because my custody agreement has nothing to do with my marriage status unless I go back and try and change that. So we said, okay, I didn't think it was right, but a little while ago there was a special Grandparents' Day and Special Persons' Day where those people come in, just spend a couple of hours with the kids, have some fun activities with other parents and grandparents and other people in there.
Right.
I signed up for my fiance to be able to come in. The principal called me and asked why I keep trying to put the school in the middle of all of this, and said that told me that my fiance was not allowed to come in for Special Persons Day, that she didn't qualify for that. Said that the superintendent was in agreement with him. I met with the superintendent, and he said that they spoke to school council and that they were also in agreement. I asked for a copy of the school policy defining what is a parent, anything that would kind of oversee all these kind of procedures,
right,
for which they say they don't have one.
Well, the short answer is I think we got two threads going here. Number one is, how long have you been with this fiance?
A couple of years.
And do you live with her?
Yes.
And when you have custody of your daughter, I assume they spend a lot of time together, so she's essentially a stepmother at this point.
That's correct.
You know, technically step-parents are not parents, right? But at a certain point, we do tend to give them some say or some, not official say, but some level of interaction that's normally healthy. And it sounds like there's an issue going on with your ex. I think you really have to take this to a judge. What I mean by that is you need to go to the custody judge and let the custody judge decide whether or not mother can interfere with stepmother's relationship. On the other hand, you may be forcing, in other words, why does stepmom have to go to do these things?
Well, she is going into, they ask for volunteers.
Yeah, I understand, but why does she stop for a second? Let's just ask this question. Why does she have to be involved?
She doesn't have
to be involved, right. And so the question would be, I would want to talk to two people. I would want to talk to a psychologist who knows your situation and have them tell me, what's really the dynamic here. Is this something that's really good for the kid, or is this just, and I'm just going to talk freely here, okay? Or is this just stepmom trying to assert herself, or is this a rivalry between her and your ex?
Well,
or is this, and you can tell me it is or it isn't. I don't care.
Well, my fiance has been and enjoys being around the kids and very much a part of it, and
right.
Actually was a teacher, and would like to be able to come in, help out, and be a part of. So
why doesn't she? Why doesn't she make a baby?
Well, unfortunately, she's not able to. She's in her mid-40s now.
So see, so that's the question. What the real dynamic is. So if I'm the judge, what I would do is order all three of you, meaning you, your ex, and your current one, to go meet with a therapist individually, and have that person come back and tell me what the hell's going on. Is this
my ex-wife doesn't like my fiance?
Well, probably not.
So
that's your version of what's going on, and I understand that. Let me explain something to you. You must know this by now at this point in life. You've been involved with at least two women. They are incredibly complex creatures. And exactly who's doing what, why, and why they're reporting it to you and what you think may be completely different. Trust me. Just take my word for this. So I'm just trying to say,
I think there's little interaction between the two of them. This is me.
No. You say there's very little interaction between the two of them. That tells me something. That tells me they don't like each other.
No, my ex-wife doesn't like her.
But she likes your ex-wife.
Tries to be social with her,
right.
But even if we go to an event where my daughter is doing something, we sit down, she gets up and moves.
Right, I understand. And so one is being social or pretending to be social, and the other is antisocial. I understand that. But notice how the first one, I'm not sure if she's truly social or just pretending. I'm not the psychologist, but I'm going to make this very clear to you. I think the school is absolutely within their right to say, keep stepmom out of here for the moment. We don't want anything to do with this. I think you need to go see a judge. And if I was the judge, and I'm going to tell you a lot of judges would do, they would say, I want to figure out what's really going on here. And why does stepmom really have to be involved? And since stepmom really doesn't have to be involved, I'm going to want to know that it's in the best interest of the kid and the flow. And I'm going to make all three of you guys go sit down with somebody and then possibly sit down with somebody together. I know a judge, as a matter of fact, who I've been in front of. And you know what he would do? He would kick me and you out of the room if I represented you. He would kick mom's lawyer out of the room, and he would bring stepmom and mom into his little conference room and talk to them for 2 hours until he was sure exactly what was going on. So, interesting, huh?
So the legal point.
I think the legal point is the school's
school
well
has
within their
authority.
rights to keep stepmom off the ground. She's not a parent. She's interjecting herself into a situation between two parents where she has no right to be. Why can't I just go hang out with your kid? See the difference? There's nothing. I'm no different than your stepwife to be.
So, but we did this last year. There was no issue.
Well, now there's an issue.
Because
now there's an
wife
issue.
Doesn't want her there.
Well, and that's why I say you got to go back to court because that's a custody decision, and if you and your wife can't agree about it, a judge will decide it. And I'm just telling you how he would probably decide it. All right?
All right.
I don't like the answer. All right. Hey, anybody out there listening to that exchange, I'd be curious to see what you guys think. I mean, am I crazy here, or is there some kind of woman rivalry going on here? Shane, what do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah, what do you think of that?
I don't know. It's definitely a tricky situation. I mean, that's really tough because you almost feel like from the fiance's point of view that she wants to be a part of the kid's life, she wants to be involved, but yet his real wife's probably like, I don't really want you involved with my daughter. And I think you can honestly say the same thing if this was a woman that called you and was getting remarried to another man.
Right.
About the husbands, that kind of thing. I think you could say the same exact thing the opposite way.
And my question is the stepmom legitimately want to be interested, or is the stepmom, trying because she can't have kids, trying to, steal a kid, and is mom's anxiety overblown, or is there other history here we don't know about? And that's why I would send them all to a counselor. Frank, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. What's going on?
Hi, Carl. Hey, before I get into my gig, let me just tell you this call you just had on. I'm divorced, married to my present wife for 30-plus years, and it's still going on. It's a nightmare. To the point now my kids are in their 40s, and I know my daughter just told me recently she had to tell my ex-wife, hey, it's over and done with. Forget it already, So God bless that guy. Now,
go ahead.
For my call. Many, many years ago, I got involved in something with the law. I made a small thing blow up into an absolute nightmare, and I ended up being an unindicted co-conspirator in a case. This is almost 50 years ago.
Okay.
I have this urge to buy a gun now. Would I be able to get one, or would they turn me down?
Well, if you were unindicted, then you were never charged or convicted.
I never was. That was what they told me. I was a non-indicted co-conspirator.
Yeah, so unindicted would mean you were never actually convicted of anything. So, the classic unindicted co-conspirator basically means we've got this guy, and this guy all in this conspiracy. So if you remember when Bud Dwyer killed himself, they referenced in that time period, the unindicted co-conspirator.
Yes.
That person has no consequence from it. And it doesn't mean they're guilty of anything, because that's just the grand jury version or the law enforcement version of what they think your role was. But the fact that they don't indict you tells you something as well, which is, well, we're pretty sure you might have had something to do with something, but we don't feel strongly enough about it to bring it into a charge. So you're fine to buy a gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, not going into the details, but basically what happened was I went and purchased a case of tuna fish that was stolen.
Right.
Thought I was in all kinds of trouble, and I tried paying somebody off that was supposedly going to pay the cops off to kill it. And the whole joke of the thing is I would have went into one of them, first time you got in trouble and
right.
they squash it. And I made a huge thing out of something that was nothing. But, when you're not a criminal,
right,
you don't think rationally.
That's absolutely true. I got to go to break.
Okay, thank you much, Carl.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. And thanks for what you do.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for your opinion. When the first guy was arrested in the Rice and mailing plot thing, Shane and I were just talking about it. Apparently they used him as a return address, So This reminds me of something else, but I have to say this. So he apparently says when they're raiding his house and they're asking him about rice, and he's saying, I don't even eat rice. The poor guy. And listen, let's just think about this. I guess like wacky, quacky weirdos will put their own return address on envelopes like that. But it's sort of like this background check thing. I have a client that's charged with lying on his application to buy a firearm. And he had a misdemeanor conviction, which under the Lautenberg Amendment prevents him from owning a firearm. He also had a PFA at one time, which apparently was in effect at the same time. This is a couple of years ago, but it's just getting to trial now. And what's funny about it, it's like he says, why would I have gone into a major sporting goods store and lied on this form? I thought the whole point was they were going to check my background. So I just didn't realize that this misdemeanor had that effect, nor did I realize that the PFA was still in effect. And there's a good reason on that, because they'd been in front of a judge and had been modified, but as they understood it, had been dropped. So it wouldn't have been in effect. It wouldn't have affected him at all. But the problem is, so I want you to think about this one, but my favorite part is then he goes, and besides, I thought I could buy a gun like, at a yard sale or off the internet and just go to Craigslist or whatever. He's like, but I didn't do that because I just wanted to take up hunting because this new neighbor of mine wanted me to go hunting with him. And I went in and filled out the form. My point on all this is, what is the purpose of these background check things? I mean, why not just check the person's background, but have them answer 10 questions and then complain that they were wrong on one of them on a nicky-knack thing like, oh, you have a misdemeanor 2 from 10 years ago, but you didn't realize that it's generally okay, but under your particular condition, it's disabling. And it's even more frustrating because I have clients who are routinely told by prosecutors, public defenders, other defense lawyers, probation officers, you just have a misdemeanor. It won't affect your gun rights. But as we all know, misdemeanors of the first degree, I guess we don't all know, do affect your gun rights. And do any minor misdemeanors that involve crimes of, quote, domestic violence. And remember, punching your brother or screaming at your father can be a crime of domestic violence, not just beating your wife. Which, by the way, you get more time for killing a deer illegally in Pennsylvania than you will for slapping a woman across the face. But, hey, I don't make the laws. I just tell you what they are. Mike, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. What's going on?
Hey, my friend. How you doing on this beautiful sunny day?
Well, I'm locked up in a chicken coop with R.J. Harris's tailings floating around in the air here.
I'll be thinking about you as I'm working on my tan.
That's a farmer's tan, I'll bet. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I'm going to work good on this one with the all-natural coconut oil and everything. All right, so I got a couple questions.
Yeah, I'm ill now. Go ahead.
First of all, the second last caller, he was talking about his fiance coming into school and this and that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, man, you triggered a thought when you said that, if we didn't find out already that these women are complex creatures, Hey, you know what? Now, I got a great wife. I got to tell you, one woman is enough. I don't get it with these guys. Maybe they're married and happy and this and that, and they look outside of the marriage. These are crazy. All right, anyway. So I wanted to kind of ask you personally some questions about your profession. Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
First of all, sometimes I can't understand how guys like you, as far as lawyers, don't go totally nuts or insane with dealing with all the type of crazy people that you probably deal with. Like some of the stuff that they've done or have gone through. And you're looking at this like, I don't know what keeps you sane. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Don't trust me. And sometimes you just want to gouge your eyeballs out when they're in the middle of a lengthy story. But go ahead.
Right. Okay. So now let me ask you this. I was just curious. Myself personally, when I have a belief, I got to be able to believe in something to be able to try to convince, other people of it as well, whatever that may be. Okay. It could be a product. It could be whatever. Now, let me ask you something. Say you have a guy that comes to you personally, says, look, Carl, I need you to defend me. And he actually opens up to you and says, yeah, Carl, I killed her, man. I did it, Now, this is a guy that wants you to defend him. What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, I'm going to defend him because I give you an example. Now, why did he kill him? I guess obviously could change a lot of things, right?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But the short answer is my job is to hold the government to its burden of proof. My job is to mitigate the legal consequences. So sometimes in a lot of criminal defense work, quite frankly, works like this. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you did that. All right. And and we don't really have a great defense. Let's work on mitigation for sentencing. So I had a case the other day in a local county where the judge said, I'm going to go below the guideline ranges for the first time ever. I've been a judge for 14 years, and I've never gone below the guidelines before.
Right.
And now, first of all, I feel really good, right? Because I got my clients there, and he's obviously going to be happy. He's not going to jail. Could have gone to state prison. Definitely had to go to county prison for 9 months. Instead, he's getting house arrest.
Right.
And there was a lot of circumstances that needed to be pointed out. And one of the things that the judge was so excited about was all the letters he got from the community. But I helped with that because I made sure I told some of his friends and family, I'm like, if you know anybody who knows him, was willing to say anything good about him, have him write the judge.
Wow.
And, so we did some stuff, and I did my job. And my point is, that guy did something wrong. A jury convicted him.
Right.
He's going to get punished. His punishment's going to be a little less because we mitigated it, and I think it was fair under the circumstance. Of course, my other favorite part about it was the other 20 lawyers in the courtroom, right? Like, turn around like, okay, boys and girls, this is how it works. But my point is, there I thought he did the right thing because he's guilty and he needs to be punished. But and I'll just tell you, it's a weird thing. He was convicted of a theft, right? But in the meantime, we have like a letter from a lady who's like, I'm housebound, and he goes and gets my groceries for me once a month.
Wow.
Another person wrote and said, I'm disabled, and he comes over and helps me clean my apartment every couple weeks. And he's just a really nice guy who got himself in a bad situation and made a mistake, but he had a terrible background. I mean, a terrible background from years and years and years ago. And but for the last 20-some years, he'd been law-abiding. He'd become a church-going fella.
Right.
And he had really tried to make amends for all the bad stuff he'd done before, and then he fell back into this one bad thing. And my point is every sentencing's unique. So I guess I could have just taken the theory of what the public sometimes would say is, well, he stole. What do you care? You should just not even represent him, let him go in. And I say, well, he stole, but he should be punished. And our law says people should be punished with the least amount of prison time necessary to accomplish all the goals of sentencing.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I understand everything you're saying. You've explained it very, very well. Let me ask you this. On your own personal conviction, say that you were defending a guy and he tells you in your office, it's just you, him, and the walls. Right. Says, look, Carl, I killed the guy. I did it in cold blood. I have no remorse. I don't regret it, blah, 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 blah. You're still going to defend a guy like that? Because I know it's your business as well.
Yeah, because here's why. Because that's a perfect case to practice on.
Really?
Yeah, because you've got nothing to work with, right? So you got nothing to lose. So you can if you win it, I guess that's just really good lawyering, right? And if you lose it, you go to the golf course and you tee off and you think, well, thank God that guy's in jail.
Yeah, I guess everybody's got to make their own call. Everybody has their conviction. I mean, you probably have certain people that would say, you filthy, rotten, low down. I can't defend you. Get out of here right now.
Now, but here's the reality. Competent criminal defense attorneys are generally not going to do that for an important reason.
What's that?
If we only represented people that were innocent, or we only took trials for people that we, really believed, et cetera, then the day that you walk in the office and you've been wrongly accused, just like that poor guy was of the ricin thing recently.
Sure.
What if the attorney's like, well, see, I've never actually done a trial before, really litigated anything because you're my first innocent client. But trust me, I'll get really practiced with the jury fast. I'm not sure how or why or what I'm going to do. And I'm not used to talking in the court and cross-examining witnesses because I just never really bothered practicing those skills. So I sometimes have a little private joke in my head, which is we practice on the guilty so that we can win when the people are innocent.
Wow. And you know what? My last comment about everything you just told me is I think everything you just explained to me is actually more complex than the creature woman. Holy smoke.
I got to go to break, brother.
Yeah, take care, my friend.
All right, God bless you. Rub that coconut oil in. Welcome back. Carl Rominger here, 540-0580. Mike's always funny. I could care less about his tan, though. I don't know. Anyhow. God bless him. Michelle, you're on the air.
Hey, I have a question for you, Carl.
Yes.
I lived my entire 45 years without so much as a speeding ticket. And then we had some horrible rental neighbors next door that were involved in drug activity. And they did a lot of teasing to a dog.
Okay.
And I was charged with harboring a vicious and dangerous dog. And when the district justice found out that my dog was indeed on a leash and with me, he I can't remember exactly if he dismissed it or if I paid a partial fine and that was it. First question is, how do you check and see exactly what your record is?
Well, the easiest way, the most sure way, is to go to the Pennsylvania State Police and request an official criminal background, which you can do from their website.
Okay.
And they'll run you in their little repository, and if they have anything, they'll certify it to you. Sometimes summaries aren't in there, so if you have a summary conviction for something, which won't affect gun ownership.
Yes, it was a summary. I'm sorry, it was a summary.
Then the easy way to check on summaries is just to run yourself on PA web dockets. Which is the I call it web dockets, but it's the AOPC's website. I'll post it to my Facebook page.
That'd be great. So something like that, harboring a vicious and dangerous dog and then being found not guilty.
Well, anytime you're found not guilty, it shouldn't affect you at all. And by the way, if it was more than 5 years ago, you can expunge it off your record so it wouldn't even show.
Okay. What if that charge stuck? Would that preclude gun ownership?
No, not a summary. No, currently no summaries preclude gun ownership. But here's the problem. Years ago, piles and piles of people pled guilty to minor misdemeanors. So they'd say, well, it's just a misdemeanor 3. You pay a $50 fine to the district judge and go home. Okay. And then 30 years later, they passed a Lautenberger Amendment and said, now you retroactively can't own a gun. So I tell people that if you get a non-traffic summary, it may be worthwhile to fight it or expunge it after 5 years if you were convicted to make sure that you're not one of those terrible people who had a summary 30 years ago and shouldn't own a gun when they change the rules again.
Right. Do you have any idea is it a very expensive process to go through the Pennsylvania State Police?
No, about $15, give or take.
Okay. That's not bad.
No, and it's a good way to check because you can be sure. But if it's just a summary, then you won't have anything on there.
It just makes me a bit paranoid, and but anyways, I wanted to check.
We want all the paranoid people to have guns too. Remember that.
I'm sorry.
I said we want all the paranoid people to have guns.
Well, I'm not paranoid.
I know. I'm teasing you. Right. And remember, even paranoid people have enemies.
I wasn't paranoid. I was just being cautious.
Understand. I just posted it up there on Facebook. You'll be able to jump on there and check it. What you do is you want to go to the magisterial district court. It's for all levels of the judicial system. So you want to go to the magisterial district court. You want to select traffic or non-traffic, depending what you're looking for. If it's not traffic, obviously non-traffic. And you run your first and last name or a few more data points in there, and you can see anything that shows. So, I encourage everybody, go check Carl Rominger out in there, and you can see all my traffic tickets.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Carl, thank you so much. We
all
appreciate the program, and it's always entertaining.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Entertaining. Do I want to be entertaining? No, I want to be right. Darn it. The long and short of that little system, by the way, is if you're in a custody case or anything like that. See, it used to be years ago, people would be coming in and be like, I knew my ex-husband did something wrong one time somewhere, someplace. And you'd be like, well, what, where, and how? Because we might need to go find the court records and da-da-da-da-da. I don't know. It was 22 years. Well, first of all, you're thinking, well, it's probably not relevant, but that's okay. But now everybody comes in with, this is what I get. Carl, I've got his docket sheets here. He was in Altoona 5 years ago and got a speeding ticket. 10 years before that, he had a bar fight in Bradford, Pennsylvania. I got that. And And you're kind of like, I don't think this, you kind of married him when he was doing all this stuff. I'm not sure it's going to help the custody case or not, but that's okay. And then you're like, and here's printouts of his Facebook page where he refers to me as baby's mama and says he's never going to pay support because I'm just a mooch. And that's why he's really going to make sure I don't get custody so I don't get support and that he doesn't care. And so all your social media comes out, all your publicly available records come out. People go pay for the Intellia search services, and you get lots of useful information and a lot of extraneous, useless information. But it's a new era for clients to research each other. So if you go to my Facebook page, you'll find this. I put it up. It's the Pennsylvania Unified Judicial System link right to their web dockets, and you can run yourself in there. It pays to run yourself in there, by the way. Every once in a while, somebody discovers that they're guilty of something they didn't know about, or more importantly, we're the victim of identity theft. And we've talked about that, of course. But nonetheless, people sometimes give fake IDs or names when they're pulled over for minor matters. And these days, it's much tougher to get away with that because the officers have laptops in the car that pull up photographs of your driver's license and things like that to match you up. But nonetheless, it still happens. And I get this one. I had one time where the twin sister was running around the state committing minor crimes and dutifully telling everybody and their brother that she was the other sister. And try to straighten that one out for a little while. But those brothers and sisters quite frequently get away with it because they look physically similar, etc., and whatnot. Oh, by the way, we did post my mom's new recipe for guacamole. So if you go to hr2 or my Facebook page, you'll be able to get that recipe. And if you want to try it, I'd like to hear some feedback and see if we can use it for Cinco de Mayo. In fact, Shane, I think what people should do is people should make the guacamole, and we should have them deliver it here next Saturday. I should try it. We'll have a contest. I don't know. I'm just making it up. But anybody. Or, better yet, maybe I can get some beer, and we can get some guacamole, and we can get some chips, and we can eat them. The plan? Okay. Score? Good. Yeah, Shane's easy to please. We brought him chicken fingers today, and the reason is he subtly misdirected me the other day to avoid having to go to a restaurant of my choice, causing me to take him to a place that had chicken fingers. So I was informed that he actually had used a subtle misdirection to cause me to not get my Asian noodles because he wanted to land at a joint which would have chicken fingers. So I brought him chicken fingers today, because my plan is to feed him until he can't eat them any longer so that next time he will not steer me in the wrong direction. So anyhow, May 9th, I am going to be at the Franklin County 912 Patriots in Chambersburg giving a lecture on gun law. Make sure you get down there. It might be a drive for some of you, but I'm tired of all the whining emails I get about when's your next gun law lecture. May 18th, Lancaster County Women's Expo. In the meantime, go to romingerlaw.com, check out that tasty recipe, and join me on Facebook. Guys, I will be back next week to do it all over again. Bye.